But anyways, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this should be fun, fairly short and fairly. Damn it! I already said fun. You know what? Screw it. I like these types of cold opens anyway. It's like my signature. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Anime-Versal Reviews podcast. We are back after COVID hiatus. Legit. Seriously. I know a lot of people have been waiting on the Midnight Run Chobits review with Christine and I. She is recovered for all intents and purposes. We've actually been out the last day. She's non-symptomatic, tested negative here, and yeah, we're doing good. We'll get it finished up, edited, and to you guys on time this week, or hell will have frozen over. Please do like, share, subscribe if you're checking us out on YouTube. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to us on audio, still thank you so much. And do hit whatever the appropriate stuff is for liking, sharing, and following. I'm Kyle Malone. I'm trying to get through the housekeeping as quickly as possible. Introduce the other host of this show, Brian Brantley from YouTube's PulpMythos. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I'm here.
I'm tired, man. I don't know if you know, but we had a bit of a busy day yesterday. LRM Online.
Yes, I was tracking.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to interact with everyone. I hope people enjoyed doing like the polls and the teases and stuff like that. I'm an old guy. Like, I'm trying to like copy some of the younger multimedia people to a point within like taste, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I can only relate to so much, but yeah.
Well, that's what I digged about. I like the three of you because everyone brings a different vibe or opinion. It's good to have a variety of thoughts on these kinds of things, because everyone has different opinions. Like, even anime, there's so many shows where one person may be like, yeah, I love this or I hate this, and it's a combination of when they came up and what anime they were exposed to first. So variety is good.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny that you kind of put it that way. It's almost like maybe you did it on purpose, because the show we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, by the title and thumbnail that you clicked on, is Megalobox. And you know what? I screwed up my own joke. I pulled up my cell phone because I was going to read. I had to write this joke down, because what I had meant to say was we're here to where is it? Hold on, I got to scroll up to my. That's your name. I sent the texts to myself as I'm watching the show. So we're here to talk about Megalos Speed Cowboy. No. Bebop Box Racer. No. Speed Boxer. Okay, yeah, you get the point. This show is really cool. It leans very, very, very heavily on things you and I grew up with, Brian, ranging from things like Speed Racer when we were really young, before we even knew it was anime, to things like Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Akira, which we see in the 90s, even a little flair of Ghibli in there with some of the kid designs. This is like a love letter to anime, and it's kind of funny because the last two shows we talked about in the Gridman universe are so layered with depth. This is layered with superficial. Like, I mean it in a positive way. Like, there's no, in my mind, there's really no greater meaning in any of the multiple things that they present. They're showing, a hero's trial, a villain's trial, a self-discovery, a redemption, but they're all surface level, but they're so well put together. You've seen it a million times that almost every episode felt familiar, yet still unique and fun because of the unique way they put these puzzle pieces together. So I really dug going through this, and I hate that goddamn Jawa. What's up, Brian? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, man, it's crazy because I had seen I'd been hearing about it, and I had no idea what it was. And I believe season 2 had just come out recently, and so I saw a few stills from it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I watched the trailer for the first season, and if you had told me this was made in '96, I'd have believed you. You know, I was like, whoa, and I immediately was sold. I was like, all right, yeah, this looks like something worth checking out. And like you said, it's very simple. It's a very simple story at its core. Yeah, there's a few little twists and turns here and there, but it's a very it's about fighting. I mean, it's about honor. I mean, it's got a little few layers here and there, and there's everyone has their own reason for we have a tournament and everything, and everyone has their own reason for being a part of the story. But at the end of the day, it's two guys in a ring, and then that's what I loved about it.
I agree. That the layers come from, like you said, it's the characters more than it is like necessarily a theme. And I forgot to say, this episode's brought to you by Grow Generation, which are our great sponsors. We're pros go to grow, but more on them later on in the episode. Like I was saying, unlike the others where your layer comes from, oh man, what could they be talking about? You could be talking about God here. You could be talking. No, this is dude messed up in the past. He's got to make up for it. Dude feels inadequate. He's trying to find his inner strength. A lady has legacy issues. She's all of those, dude. It worked.
Yeah, and absolutely, and as far, and because we never even get the backstory of the main character
at all.
And even the main, there really is no antagonist, but the main opponent, I'll say.
Yeah.
You get a little piece of his backstory, but not really. These are two guys that you really don't know where they came from. But it worked. It didn't take away from anything.
Oh, excuse me. Just so people know, it's like legitimate. I don't want to show my phone number, so hopefully. But yeah, it's my text. I'm not looking up Wikipedia, and people be like, "Oh, well, you changed screen when you looked." Anyways, I usually write my notes down, but I'm trying to be more text set. Okay, I was lazy. I was high and I was lazy. I'm not gonna lie. I watched 5 episodes one day, and then the next 7, 8, 13 total. So 8. See, my brain sucks. Anyways, and then I watched those the next day. Anyways, speaking of all of the kind of like throwbacks, and this will be we've gotten away from the Cantina style reviews, and we like to do these more like in chunks versus like trying to go episode by episode or story beats by story beats. So we look at the characters, we look at kind of the themes and major story points, and then we look at kind of the technical side of things, and it's fun. This one should be very, very loose because, dude, it's all meta, it's all reference, it's all this very stereotypical tournament arc where you've got the who you think are the villains, who you think are the heroes, the protagonists. I just had that Venture Brothers pop into mind where what is it? Watch and God, the two guys from that do the like tech stuff for the guild, and they're getting upset at being called bad guys. Anyways, I love that. You have all these like little stereotypical roles, but it's all wrapped up in, like I said, that really nice sports anime. It's got really cool styles that, like you said, feels like 1996, which was filled with all these throwbacks to things like, I said Speed Racer as far as like story, but art, the really tall, thin, almost like everyone seems to be shot from a like downward angle, even if it's right on their face from not 90 degrees. Things like Macross, things like what else did I say Macross and Gundam Speed Racer from the 70s and 80s. I didn't, so I dug everything almost everything they tried to do with the music on the inside of the show. I didn't care for the bookend songs too much. But yeah, man, kind of what was kind of like your favorite kind of familiar beat here? Like the anime you kind of really saw so often in this.
For me, it was the relationship between Joe and Yuri. This, like, we were born for this fight. You know, I just I mean, it's such a anime thing, especially in, like you said, in tournament style anime. But this thing where they get to a point where they realize their whole lives was all leading to them fighting. They have to fight because they need to know. They need to know who is truly the best. And by the time you get to the end and the, you know, it's all about these gears or whatever, and he's just like, no, I need to know the man. Is the man able to beat the man? And I don't know, like you said, it's simple and it's a little cheesy even, but it's done so well, and you get invested. You're like, I was very excited to see. I didn't know who would win or how it would end, you know, and I was okay with anything. I didn't mind if Joe had fallen, or I was okay. I was like, you know what? It was about this journey. They both get to find out, and in the end, they wouldn't care. It was about experiencing and you know, achieving this fight. And as you said, the way it ended, everyone basically got to achieve what they wanted to some degree, you know. And like I said, there really was no villain when you got to the end. You're like, no, everybody did what they needed to do. And I enjoyed the final credits of the last episode as well, just sort of that little tying it up to the point. If there was never another season, I would have been 100% okay.
Yeah. You know, with sports anime, most or not just sports anime, sports entertainment, like fictionalized sports, you know, stories, everyone's biggest thing is who's gonna win, right? We assume we're gonna see Yuri and Joe fight at the end of this. And for those of you guys that might be wondering, well, what's the general story here? We kind of already told you, it's a tournament arc. Like, legit, all of the background stuff is so infinitesimal in this. Like, even the it's not that they don't matter, but when reveals happen, like what is Yukiko up to, you know, the female in charge, what is she up to? When the reveal comes, it's such a nothing burger. You're like,
is, yeah. You're just like, okay.
Well, I was expecting something different. I guess that's kind of where maybe this does set itself apart. Maybe where it did kind of breaks some expectations, because it really is just a tournament arc, guys. It's just the fight, and it's built around this sport. I guess like one of the maybe hidden things in here you could potentially dissect. It's built around Megaloboxing, which is boxing with metallic arms, which when you really break this show down doesn't really change anything, because nobody's got like better bodies really. So if they took hits, they would be utterly destroyed by these things, and they're not. There's blood and stuff, but they eventually end up, like Brian said, at the end of it, you know, Joe fights without gear because his is old and broken. They try to scheme some new stuff together, but it doesn't work out. And then Yuri, the main antagonist, if you will, decides to fight without gear at the end. So legitimately, it's just a show about these two guys getting to where they have a sanctioned boxing match.
I do like how Joe, you know, as the show progresses, because the idea is he's at a disadvantage because he doesn't have a gear, but you realize that each gear, all the gears also bring disadvantages, and he exploits that, you know, to win it, you know, to win. So I thought that was a cool.
Yes, that was definitely very cool. I like it when he's fighting the brother and has the ace AI or gear, and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go limp here, and now you don't know what the heck to do. It's really cool. Maybe I misspoke, or maybe you didn't quite catch it. What anime kind of like did you, because I kept seeing two things I kept seeing throughout this. Stylistically, I kept seeing Cowboy, especially dealing with Joe and his coach being Spike and guy with the freaking arm.
Jet.
Thank you. See, I kept seeing that in Speed Racer because of the kid and the talking over the mics and the fact that they're trying to help each other out. Did you have anything that
Outlaw,
just kept hitting
Outlaw
you in the face?
Star.
Outlaw Star. That's another one I was.
Gene Starwin, and then there was the kid. I can't remember the kid's name.
That's true.
And there was sort of a dynamic between those two characters, and the kid wanted, to follow in his footsteps. So there was a little bit of that artistically also. Like I said, style-wise, this looked like some 96 stuff in a good way,
Yeah.
Very, very, I love that anime that, everything can, as far as styles, there's such a variety, and we can have something today that looks, a little older. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not even like, I'm sure there were, especially with like the bike and stuff like that. There were definitely other CGI scenes in this.
Some of the audience.
The boxing stuff is where I was going to say is where they're mostly heavy with their CGI. They used real grainy looking film or however they ended up, compositing these images through filters or whatever, hash marks, shadows. Like, dude, this is Dyna, Xenon, and Gridman are love letters to, Ultraman and similar content. This is legitimately just a love letter to anime and kind of, I almost want to say, Japan itself too. This is one of those few anime where the majority of the characters are clearly meant to be Asian. They've got a darker shade of skin. There's an American character in here, the Bloodless Lion. He's actually got subtitles, so I'm guessing he must have been voiced in English in the subtitle as well. Maybe not, but it kind of makes sense to do so. So it really does seem like this massive love letter, even so much so. And look, I don't want to, and we could talk about it a little bit more at the end, Brian. But I kind of thought, like, why don't I know as many voice actors and directors and stuff? Why don't I have that fervor that I do on the just some of the live action side of things? And it really dawned on me it's because I don't want to ruin the fun of just watching anime. But the reason why I bring it up is the voice actors for Joe and Yuri are Dragon Ball Super's Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta being Joe and Goku being Yuri. So it's kind of funny because you've got this epic rivalry in these two characters that these same two people voice. And of course, there's been various voice actors for Vegeta on the dub side as well as a lot of Dragon Ball characters. But Super is the most recent one, and you still have the weight of those characters behind the voices, whether it's the English voice actors or the Japanese ones. And I found that aspect kind of cool because I was trying to place the voices. They sounded so familiar, but it was hard to place. So I did look them up, and I was like, oh my god, it's funny because Vegeta's Joe, who, in Dragon Ball, Vegeta's always losing to Goku and seen as the antagonist. Goku's the good guy. I'll throw it out there, the good guy, and is always winning, and he's Yuri. It was fun.
That's great. And Yuri's that great, white haired badass. And they play it so well, and it's like no one can beat Yuri. And it's it's very well done. And the second I saw him, I was like, oh yeah. When the motorcycle they were on the bridge or whatever,
bridge overpass, yeah,
and they just had that stare off. I was like, oh, like literally, that's the first or second episode. That stare off is the blueprint for the whole show. It's like everything that happens all the way until the credits of the final episode is because of that 1 second. And I loved it. I love the fact that at that moment they were like, we have to fight. That was as simple as that.
We must fight. Let them fight.
Yeah.
The whole tournament to speak about the big reveal here. There's a couple things. There's some backstabbing because Joe and his coach come from a background of fixing like underground matches, taking dives and stuff like that. And there's this big, megalomania tournament going on where they're going to have, the world's biggest megaloboxers fight for, the championship. And it turns out you're trying to figure out, why is this company sponsoring it? Why are they so obsessed with their gear? Is it all for money? No, actually, she wants to save lives. She's trying to make exosuits to reduce the need for military. And I mean, you could also see fire and rescue applications for it. And there's no bad stuff. Legit, she just wanted to get money for research and development to do something half decent.
Yeah, it's trying to sling her tech. I mean, slinging that tech. But it becomes a fight between brother and sister who both have a different vision of how the tech should operate, and that becomes a subplot throughout the show.
There was a lot of little subplots. Like I said, the backstabbing part of it, dealing with Joe and his coach, and Joe not knowing that the coach is intending to throw whatever big match Joe can get into, including the final fight. Excuse me. I mean, like I said, there's that. There's the brother and sister thing that you're talking about, which both of them get decent amount of time to kind of explore, and you see like the inner business turmoil.
And I like that they weren't villains. In the end, they weren't. You know what I mean? Like the show could have easily been, one of them was evil, but they weren't. Yeah,
even the brother even comes back to help out when Yuri has his gear removed. He's got the integrated suit. It's integrated. It's part of his body. So at the end, when he inevitably says, "I'll fight Gearless Joe without my gear," it's really, really painful. Like I said, you can see this coming a million miles away. And the only question was, is this going to be a Rocky ending where Joe loses, or is this Rocky 2 where Joe wins? Is it Creed or Creed 2? Like, it's and the Rocky 2 photo ending, and then giving us the results later. I actually kind of dug that. I was like, okay. Nice.
Yeah, it jumped a year.
A whole year. And it's Joe. He delivers the news in a throwaway line. Like, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss out where he's like, "We won as a team." And then he just carries on. Like, you're like, "Oh." And then they show the results in Japanese writing style, characters at the end. They show that was, round 13, a knockout, and the time and stuff. What a really cool way to kind of just, that's not important. Who won isn't important. It was getting to the fight and getting to that final hit to show that they both went to quote Rocky. It's kind of impossible talking about boxing, right? To go the distance. Yeah. But to do that shows you legitimately what they cared about in this show.
Yeah, that like we said earlier, it was about, they just needed to fight. Whoever, improve, because I think both of them seemed, and I think there might have even been dialogue that said it, where Joe was willing to lose. It just came down to, am I better? He needed to know.
Yeah.
He needed the answer. Whether or not it was yes or no wasn't as important as he needed to know.
Yeah, and I really appreciated a little bit. I say really, and then a little. No, I really appreciated how much attention to a few little details, such as Joe's growth from the cocky, I can beat anyone, and they even played off in those first few episodes. You're like, is this going to be the fighter that can take punches, the fighter that can delve out damn it, like what is Joe grows like throughout. If anything, that might be the most thoroughly explored aspect is Joe's boxing growth. Learns new moves to beat an enemy. Like you said, it's almost every opponent with a specific or special gear. He's got to learn something new. I really liked that.
Yeah, because it's established, as great as he is, he's not perfect, and he has flaws all the way up to training for the final fight.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, no, you need to do this. You need to bring in oh, that was another thing I wanted to bring up. I don't know if it's in your notes. There was a really cool, it was only like an episode or two, but there was a really interesting storyline involving soldiers and PTSD and you know, unfortunately,
feeling inadequate,
a lot of soldiers
limbs and stuff like that,
their own lives, and it goes in hard on that, and I thought the way it played, it was very tasteful, and I thought it was very well done.
Absolutely. You know, the World War II has had a lasting impression on Japan as it has the world. You know, all of the major players from that conflict have various scars and various issues from it, and Japan has, for as long as I can remember, explored those issues through anime. I mean, Miyazaki, pacifist extraordinaire, does
Gundam
almost nothing but war related stuff. Gundam, for something that is shonen as fuck, full of action, and is all about the awfulness of war. And yet here in America, we're just like, oh, look at the robots fighting.
That's true.
I mean, most Japanese are the same way. Most people are, but it's just an interesting thing. And yeah, here's another example. While Japan does have some modern conflicts that they've had observers and various participation in, the last major conflict was the world wars, and they did have people that dealt with scars for generations and still are, and not just the service members, but I mean, guys, we rained hell on Japan across the Pacific Islands and their homeland in a time of war. I mean, they rained hell on every piece of land that they touched as well. It was very cool to see it, and it's something that is, I think, overlooked by us in the West when we watch anime. Not necessarily you and me, because we got military family. We see these, like, you could, yeah, like it's there. But do you think it's lost on a lot of Westerners, those themes?
In Gundam, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, that one.
I mean, look, I like all the battles and everything too, but
yeah.
it is funny that at the core of Gundam, it's an anti-war
futility and
thing,
especially Wing with futility.
That's always the message. But at the end of the day, we want to see big robots blow each other up. Yes. So, you know. Yep,
absolutely. I love it. This episode that you're talking about, though, gets a complete arc when the coach, who let's give it a hand to the Wilson Fisk cut your own eyeball out moment, and then to later on see it pay off.
Well, what was so, you know, he had a huge arc in terms of dealing with the sins of his past, and the moment of cutting out his eye was sort of the finality of that story, and him that was his offering, and I loved it. The mob boss, or the character, accepted it.
Yeah,
because even the other guys were like, "What is bullshit?" You know, and he's just like, "No, this is right."
Yeah, and
you know, but then, like you said, it pays off in that he's such a good. He understands boxing so well that even hearing it, he's capable of knowing what's right, what's wrong, and he all the way up to being able to run a school later, you know. So, you know, he still has those skills, is still able to do what he does.
It is. It's really cool, and it'll be really, really cool to talk more about some of these characters and some of the side characters, including the young kid and his god awful rap. When we come back from Grow Generation, our sponsors, and I really honestly I don't know who's going to read you guys this ad, so somebody read it.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. For all of your cultivation needs, Grow Generation has the right products, service and staff to make your grow successful. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
Alrighty guys, thank you so much for checking out growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow. If you haven't checked them out, why? I mean, come on guys, there's a lot of things you could be growing. It's not just one thing there. So even if your state's not as cool as my state, or Commonwealth, whatever, there are a lot of really good products there that you guys could use for herb gardens and all sorts of fun things. So yeah, check them out. Brian, some of the side characters, I mentioned the kid. I forgot to write down his name. Sachio. There you go. I was like, it's not Sikio. I was like, it's something in there, but I didn't want to sound stupid and make up a name that doesn't even exist. And then before Kyle Malone raised, anyways,
he's my only complaint. I didn't hate him. I didn't completely dislike him.
No, he's not awful.
I thought he had some interesting points, and specifically when he was dealing with the boxing stuff, I thought he was fine.
It's not useless. They make him that kind of you're worried he's the kid from Speed Racer, but he's not.
Yeah, exactly. But there was some stuff. I mean, we got his little backstory, and it was, had a little tragedy to it. But as far as there were some annoyances with him, and it was what it was. But it wasn't enough to. It never brought down an episode for me. Not a single one. There were a few moments where I was like, whatever. But
rap. Let's talk about that dude.
That was an interesting choice, and I don't know why.
I hated it. But I hate musicals, so.
And that's what was weird about it, is that there was a, like you said, it almost like the show became a musical, just briefly. It's not that way. It's not that kind of show, but it's like, for this moment, we're gonna do this, and I don't really know why. It was a creative decision, clearly, and they wanted it, and I'm curious.
Is there something culturally we might be missing? Maybe. Is there some context? Is there, because like I said, I don't dig into the background. Is there some past relationship with the studio and the musicians? There could be something we're missing, I
mean, I know there's a second season. Is that something that continues in that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it was one of those head scratches, like, okay.
Odd. And if it had been some sort of, hold on one second. All right, what were you saying?
I think you were talking.
Oh, was I? What was I saying?
I don't remember. We were talking about. We were still talking about
the rap thing. It could have been better off if it had been a karaoke moment, or it had been worked in this story to give him some reason to do it. It was just the musical aspect of it.
There was not even like,
it was just,
if the kid had like from the beginning been like a huge wanted to be a singer or a rapper or whatever,
maybe
like
that
was
would
a
make
subplot,
better sense.
I would be like, okay, but that wasn't the case.
No, nothing. I have no idea what they were trying to do. Anyways, let's see. We touch on Yukiko a bit. Her brother, whose name has similar sounds but starts with an M, I believe. Makio, I think, something like that. Something in there. We touched briefly on him. His gear was a cheating son of a bitch, man. It reads the electrical signals and output, not just from gear, but it can even analyze other people's movement. I almost thought it was going to say that it was reading the electrical impulses of the nervous system. Like, that's almost what I thought it was going to say.
My only confusion with his gear was I kept wondering what would happen if two of those went against each other. You know, I was like, well, how does that work? And they didn't
Don't
explore
cross
that.
the streams.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, it was just an interest. You know, I was like, well, what if? I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but what if their gear did the same thing? How does that work? I don't know.
It was. I mean, it's such a. It's a. I'm not even going to call them ex machinas or any other cliche. I'm just going to call them Pablo Hidalgos because it's whatever it needs to be. Like he said, the Star Wars canon is.
Shots fired.
Yeah, shots fired. Anyways, it is whatever it needs to be for the moment, but you still just buy it because of the payoff in the end, and it works well. Like I said, his character comes back. It's got a tie to the kid, and the kid is dramatically being taken care of by his sister to protect him from the gangster, and they do such a cool job of weaving everything in. And I made a point of this in my notes. I'm like, dude, they spend no real time on backstory and save all of your biggest flashbacks to episode 12. Like, that's where you see a little bit about, you know, Joe or Junk Dog, you know, being found by Coach shit, I forgot.
Like Nanbu or something.
Yeah. And then you've got a little bit about the background with the kid, and it, dude, like, it really is. This is just fucking sports anime. It's great. I loved it.
Yeah, that's like, and it was cool how you're right that going into those last two episodes, how we started getting those backstories and everything. And like I said, that was at the point also where it was like, there is no villain in this. You know, everyone has their reasons for what they do, and in the end, everyone who's involved all agree to the fact that, yeah, these two need to fight, and we're going to help facilitate that.
Yeah.
And I even like that everyone, even people who were against it, were like, no, this has to happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's also funny because they play with it a few times, but not as much as they could have. The whole Megaloboxing without gear, how could that be fun? Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's like boxing. they touch on that a couple of times, but by the end of it, everyone's just like, yeah, fuck it, we don't care, just get in the ring and beat the fuck out of each other.
Well, even Joe is like, he admits, and initially it was just a gimmick to move up the card, you know, to move up the rankings, and then it, you know, as it went on, he was like, no,
this is true.
This is the purest form. I must continue this. And then Yuri's also like, me too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Before we kind of go into the technical side and talk about the really nice animation in this and the fight scenes and a few other things, were there any other character or story moments you wanted to touch on?
I think we covered just about all of them, and yeah, we covered everything as far as that. I like the little side characters, like the guy that from the beginning that was fixing the bike, and you know, he comes back in the end. Every character that had even a bit cameo comes back in the end in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Even the guy that was setting up the matches for them, you know. Yeah, and I love when everybody's watching. Yeah, everybody's watching the final match, and I liked how that played.
Absolutely. And the ending, did you think that they would save it to, because I wondered, because there's that moment at the right before Joe does deliver, you know, the results, you hear it on the radio and you're like, oh, they're gonna play it on the radio, and the radio drowns out, and I'm like, are we gonna have to wait until next season, which is already, you know, been started to air, I think, might be,
I think it's
to
finished
air soon. Okay.
Yeah, I want to say it aired.
I know it's like out
a couple months ago or something.
Okay, yeah. Maybe it was the finale that was about to finish. Possibly. On dub or something. It's in various forms of out, I guess. But I was wondering if I would have to wait until next season to hear the results. What did you think about kind of drawing that out and how it was delivered by Joe?
Yeah, I was fine with it. The only thing that I kept wondering was, we kept going into their minds as far as, okay, what they're bringing to the table in terms of how they're going to win. And I kept thinking, typically in a anime like this or anything involving fighting, there's that special move or that thing that they learned. And in this, there really wasn't that. It was it was more endurance. What was the build throughout? Because the idea of 3-minute rounds, unlimited rounds, and I'm like, that's insane. First of all, and that's just
robot arms.
that's a crazy thing. Anybody who's boxed for 2 seconds would know how insane that is.
Anyone that's ever done any combatives for more than like you said, a few seconds, will understand that shit is not easy.
No, hell no. So, but the fact that it kept going round and round, and then I got to one point where I was getting a little nervous because I was like, look, like you said, around round 13, I'm like, if this goes like 20 rounds, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they've never, the show has never said that Joe is this superhuman.
Not even Yuri. It's all about the gear, and then the person's heart and abilities to work with what they've got, be it gear or talent.
So around 13 was right. I think that was perfect. I was like, okay, we're approaching that ground where this was like a realistic fight. Yeah, that's how long it would go.
Yeah, you get those fights to where both opponents are feeling each other out, and so the first couple of rounds are bursty, and then unless someone knows they can go for a kill, or they know that they have to take a shot because the other person is one of those endurance fighters. But when you've got two people capable of doing those endurance things, it's spurty and then long, drawn out. You're because no one wants to give up, and
because this is not, and people, anyone who's listening, you have to understand they're not fighting for points. They're fighting to finish the other guy, and so that's a whole different kind of fight in itself. And so so at certain point, you get 3 or 4 rounds in, you're trying to knock them out. That is your whole goal, while also working in a little, you got to defend yourself, obviously. So you're in 110%. In other words, there is no running down the clock.
No,
in this fight.
No, the only things you're doing, when I say you're taking things, you can't be balls to the wall on someone that can take hits or that's got feet. It all depends on the fight, and that's what they did with the gear stuff. Like you said, each gear has its own weakness. That's the same with fighters, whether it's boxing or MMA. You can't be all about being that one hit person is not going to get you everywhere. Being able to take a beating is not going to get you everywhere. You got to be able to take a few hits, dish a few out. I mean, hell, MMA has shown us time and time again what happens when a striker faces off against a grappler.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yes, it's that old thing about knife to a gunfight. Yeah, absolutely. If the knife gets a hold of me, I'm screwed. But you gotta get me. If I gotta, if I'm a striker, you're right. A grappler, they get a hold of me, that's it. But if that strikers, especially in MMA and kickboxing and things like that, where they can use their legs with that type of reach, grapplers don't have much chances against a good fast striker because they're not going to get a hold of anything to fucking grapple with.
I don't want to get too much into the fighting, but yeah, if you're a striker and your takedown defense is perfection, I mean, and they're just a grappler, they're fucked.
Yeah. Anyways,
we've seen it several times, but
my only experience is Army combatives training, which is based on several styles seen in MMA, including judo and God, what's the striking one that they really focus on. I can't remember, but a lot of our defensive and hand stuff is judo based because of, well, think about what we're laden down with and what judo is and why that would be. Anyways, so the technical side, the animation in this, again, 90s style, which harkened itself back to, because if you kind of think about the timeline, 90s is kind of like Gen 2 of anime, because anime's, of course, there's things dating way back, 1940s, and then manga to go back to what, 1600s or some 1500s or so, something like that they say. But anime really starts kicking off in Japan, really big in the 60s and 70s, and you can kind of see those things kind of being loved by the people that were watching that as kids that now make anime in the 90s. And now the kids that were watching that, the shows, Outlaw Star being one that you brought up, as well as the ones that I brought up, made this show. You know what I'm saying? Like that leapfrog, or fan of a fan type thing. It's really cool to see that. And not just that, but the fight scenes. Because there's two ways you do this. You go for real stylistic slow-mo, or you go for 7 Deadly Sins, balls to the wall. We're gonna show explosions and like almost what Dr. Stone did with their tournament. They went the complete shonen route. There's explosions and all this. And it's fun. It's great. I love Dr. Stone. Don't say a goddamn bad thing about it. I'll kick your ass. No, I'm joking. Anyways, this show went with the more stylistic, fluid is a word I like to use for this show. I really like the use of lights, especially with like Yuri's eyes, and then when he gets the trails from his gear and stuff. What did you give us some words on the art style used in this show and through the fights?
Yeah, the art style, like we've been saying, it has that 90s flair to it, and all the way down to the character designs completely. The boxing, what was really cool for me with the boxing aspect, the combat, was that there was a lot of real stuff in that.
The jukes and jinks. And
there were the terminology, footwork. I mean, and even the moves,
bouncing on the heel and the ball and back and forth.
Even wrap ups, like he'd get tired and he'd wrap him up. Like all that's legit boxing. Like that's real stuff. So even though we're dealing with mechanical and robot skeletons and all that shit, clearly the people that work on this know boxing, and I thought, and I appreciated that. But like I said, animation style, it's the sequences, especially early on, they do street so well, and him riding on his motorcycle. I love that stuff.
Those scenes are great, especially the repetitive cliff diving, if you will. I'm always, I think I bring it up all the time in any of these reviews we do. Food consumption of any kind in anime, I'm always looking for it and seeing how it's portrayed, and it obviously was done in this as well. And I thought it was done well. I liked how within their world there was a style different. There was definitely a class system, and in terms of you had citizenry versus non-citizen.
Exactly, and the way everyone dressed was very based on that, and there was a lot of attention to detail with stuff like that.
It's
which I like.
Post-apocalyptic without being post-apocalyptic, because only part of the world is post-apocalyptic, and there's a shining city on the horizon. And
so I liked all that. The main mob boss guy, I loved his suit.
And the fact that he was a chef really fed into your whole food porn thing.
That's what I'm saying. Stuff like little things like that always suck me in, because I don't know, it just brings something interesting to the character and to the anime itself. But the show did all that very well. Like I said, my only gripe really was some Sachio stuff, especially the music numbers. And not just the music numbers. That's not the only thing that bothered me. The character as a whole, I'm very, when it's a little kid character, I'm always a little like, like I said, he never ruined an episode for me, but I also didn't absolutely love the character, so we'll see.
Yeah, it was kind of like Suika for Stone, and just talking about shows that we've reviewed and during this podcast existence. Even like the little cousin for Dynazenon, Jisei. She's one of those characters where you're like, oh, this could go bad.
Yes, I was very nervous.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm cool. So
yeah.
I'm cool. You know, I'm down. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. So yeah, I agree everything you said, and we did talk a lot. You said you didn't want to get into the fighting, but the technical side of this was kind of the fighting stuff, and we already covered it fairly well in depth. Both of us revealing how not geeky we are.
Well, yeah, I've done a little.
It's so like anti.
I enjoy combat sports, and I've partaken in some training myself in my past. But so I know a little bit about fighting.
and like I said, I don't have I got what the military had. I only got through one, because I'll be honest, guys, I don't like being hit. I don't.
Yeah, that part sucks.
Like, I hate clinch drills. Oh God. And I hate the strike drills, and I hate freaking I hate having to learn how to shrimp out, and the repetitiveness. I hate it. It's just not my thing.
Grappling is fun because it's like a puzzle. But boxing, my cardio was better back in the day, but holy shit, dude. It's not just getting your ass beat, but it's the cardio aspect of it. Your shit has to be great to go, more than 3 rounds.
Absolutely. So I guess we won't have to say anything else about that. I always like to look at music, and again, I'm not crazy in bringing things up like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop here, right? You see what I'm saying there.
100%.
Music, is one of those things, and the reason why I wanted to bring up Cowboy Bebop is the fact that we saw some live action stills from it recently, and as I'm watching the show, I'm like, this could actually work great live action. This would be actually really, really hard to fuck up. Like, and with that, I was thinking about the music, and also the anime and the action set pieces here in this show being so important, as is the music and set pieces for Cowboy Bebop. What did you think about the music choices in here? Like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the either opening or the ending, and but I did like most of the way they used various styles, but they still had almost that blues funk feel going through most of the background music.
Yeah, it was fine. Like you said, it wasn't.
It's not as memorable as you had hoped it would be, like a Cowboy Bebop.
Not at all. Especially with some of the more recent things we've watched, have had fantastic soundtracks. This was
Dynazenon.
Yeah. This was serviceable, but it was by no means in my.
Felt kind of like a miss, right?
It was, this wouldn't even be in my top 10 or 20 soundtracks. And like it's fine. It's fine. Like you said. It works for what it is, but there was nothing that I was like, man, that tune or that opening or whatever was so great. I fast forwarded the opening after second episode, so
until I heard the second one, and I heard it once, and I was like, I could skip through this as well. So it's fine. It's like I said, the only reason why it felt like a miss is because I kept thinking to Cowboy Bebop, and I'm just like, God.
But that is like that's like top of the line.
But is because everything else was so similar to the shows that we've mentioned, and I was just like, God, especially when I saw what they were doing with the fights, and that they chose to go with those really, really cool long what I call I don't know what the proper term is. What I call a hit take, where the wind up and it takes a really long time to come in for the swing, the kick, the hit, whatever. Those long hit takes, the really cool angles in the fights. Like I see all of that, and I can't help but look at the shows that we've mentioned, and I just think this is a really cool deal. But here's the thing, Brian, if they just do the same in season 2, I will be severely disappointed. I don't know what I want next season, but I know it's gotta up its game somehow.
What do you think
they gotta do? What do you think is likely or what do you think they should do or will do? I'll just leave
so I have no spoilers. I absolutely don't know. I've not looked into that. I'll open with that. The biggest issue with a season 2 of this is the fact that the story is done.
Yeah.
Done. And it's a perfectly wrapped up. It's a perfect 13 episode story. I would recommend to just about anybody into anime, especially anybody into boxing or MMA or anything. But what else could you possibly do for a season 2? It makes no sense almost to make a season 2. So I have no clue what they'll do. I mean, is there going to be a time jump? And if so, because I was thinking, okay, Sachio, maybe he grows up a little bit, but even then it's like, is it him? Are we doing like a Creed thing where, okay, now you have the younger guys, the boxer?
That's what I'm wondering.
Maybe that could work. But
we haven't seen anything, guys, like Brian.
No, I really haven't.
Show about a week before we recorded this and was like, hey, that's my pick. And I'm like, okay, so yeah.
And then Joe, I'm like, well, what else does he have to prove?
Nothing.
He
won
nothing.
Megalomania.
So what is it he's going to do in a season 2? What is it? What else is there for him? And I really I just don't know what's next for that character. So I have no clue what you do. And Yuri, like, do you continue his story in any way? What does he do? It wraps it up so perfectly. I was like, well, what
I would almost when you think about it, I would almost prefer it to be is anthological a word? I would almost rather.
I know what you mean, but I don't know if that's.
I don't know if it's not. I'm coining that. It's anthological. I love how you get the context. Like I get that word. It makes sense. Fuck Shakespeare. My word makes sense. So it's anthological. Is what I would like to see with, maybe Yuri as a coach. He's in a wheelchair recovering from the fight because he pushed his body so hard after the removal of the gear and yada yada. Seeing him as a coach, seeing how the blind school's doing. It's 5 years later, and the reigning champ is the school's star pupil, and there's some really cool things you could do, but then again, you still have to ask, how do you up the game? Because if you do another underdog story, and you really, it would. I already said, you could have Yuri be a coach. So even switching it where Yuri's now the good guy and not necessarily the antagonist, so to speak. That's too predictable. I don't know how they do it good, but I think anthology's the only real way to do it good, but I could be surprised. Yeah,
and then could we dive into Joe's past? That is something that we know nothing of. So
flashback types, prequel, sequel.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we go into Joe's past some, and I don't know.
Let us know if you want us to talk about it on camera. In a season 2 review, because I'll definitely be checking it out. But yeah, I don't know what to expect, but I will say if it's not upped, you can't do anything like this again. Otherwise, it could still be done really well, but it's just like, okay, you guys literally just did everything I've seen before. You just took only the good stuff, like that sketch comedy about the parts of movies where you just get the good parts of a movie and don't have to deal with all the bads. You guys took all the good stuff from all these anime and really cleverly put it together. You can't do it again. Like, that's not clever anymore. So, but bravo to to the animators, bravo to the designers, character designers, the story creators, directors, writers, all of that. Wonderful, fun show. Brian, your grade for it?
So this for me is a B, a solid B. That is
Okay.
my score.
I gave it a B minus. I felt really let down by the music.
That's why it's not higher for me.
Yeah.
it's the
And
it's a
not
B.
that it's bad. It's just
No.
kind of like you were like, oh, you guys had this. You can see that you guys wanted to do something with it, but you kind of missed. So,
Like I said, I would recommend this to a lot of people.
oh
Like,
God, yeah,
so
absolutely. I mean, B minus, guys, is not anything to, or B or B minus is nothing to shy away from. I would 100% recommend this, and it is Brian's first recommendation for the show, ladies and gentlemen. So, yay! Take that one and definitely give it a watch. We watched it on Funimation. I watched the dub. Did you watch the dub?
Yes, I watched the dub.
Yep. So yeah, I didn't look up the voice actors. Excuse me, for the Japanese side. And with that, I kind of want to talk just briefly about that kind of aspect of anime. I did think about that because I've had some talks about the nostalgia goggles with the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer and whatnot.
Have you? Have you been talking about that?
Right? And you might be able to find those conversations on the daily cup of genre every Monday through Friday on the LRM YouTube channel and Genreverse podcast network, wherever you get your podcasts from. Like, share, subscribe. God, I hate housekeeping. How do you YouTubers like do this? Like, we're like news website that's trying to branch out just so we can be here for the youngins, I guess. But it's hard to do all the housekeeping. Anyways, how do you feel about? Do you try to get into any of the background? Because I feel like part of that is why sometimes I feel burned out on a Marvel show or a Star Wars movie or some franchise that I have investment in actors and actresses and writers, directors, because if something happens with the actual person on the outside, not just on the inside of the property, it affects things. If I don't know jack about anyone, all I care about is the show. Do you feel that way, or am I crazy?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I'm a wrestling fan, and I follow AEW and I follow WWE to a degree, and I bring that up because there's a series where you can watch Monday Night Raw and that be it, or you can go on their Twitter, or you can dig into the dirt sheets and find out what they had for breakfast yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, you can really dive in, and that may change how you view the characters, the performers, the show itself, the storylines, etc. Or something might happen that you disagree with or don't like, and you dig into why it happened. We do get to a point where we're, like you said, we know so much. I mean, you look at what's going on with the Disney Scarlett Johansson stuff, and like, does that sour your experience watching that film? Or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
want it to sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I'll always side with legal decisions being legal, but I'll say if something's bad form, and yeah, seeing a business do something that might be right for business, but knowing that they could have done something a little bit better for more parties involved, spread the pain a little bit wider. It is kind of disheartening when you're invested in the people behind the camera as well as in front of and on screen, I should say. Specifically
when it comes to like anime, a lot of it for me. And like I said, I'm just now getting back into anime, but I'll give you an example. I had, we'll use Attack on Titan. Mm-hmm. I had gotten into it a couple years back, or several years now.
Like a year after Larry bugged us out of season 1 enough times and
So
hit Netflix.
I watched the season, you know, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then I dug into the manga and I was like, all right. And then I got to a point where I was like, yeah, I don't really care for this. And so then I sort of got out of it and didn't really finish it. And I bring that up to bring up, you know, sometimes in anime, you'll have a series, you have the manga, sometimes they differ from each other, sometimes they are the same, sometimes one is way ahead of the other or completely finished. Sometimes they're releasing at the same time, which is always interesting. But that can definitely impact how you view the material. And like in the instance of Attack on Titan, it sort of took me out of the whole thing because I just didn't really like where the story was going. So I was like, yeah, oh well.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just one of those fun things about anime. You know, it is one of those places that is what comic books and sci-fi used to offer quite often, what games used to offer, well, a lot of things used to offer, but we're running away from, is you could find something with a little bit more, you know, substance, maybe some contemporary relevance, and then you can find something that's just mindless fun. Like this is mindless fun. You can put this on in the background, barely pay attention outside of the main fights, and you're still going to enjoy it as much as if you pay attention, because it's all surface level stuff, but it's well done surface level stuff. And I love anime because I can also go find something super escapism, like with a Dynazenon, where you can again enjoy giant robots smashing each other with kaiju and stuff, or oh my god, they're questioning why is God doing this if he exists, and like these super in-depth philosophical things. But I love it almost as much as I love our sponsors for sponsoring the show, and complete opposite amount of how much I hate doing housekeeping, which is, you know, check out LRMonline.com every day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. Please do see our YouTube channel, the LRM Online YouTube channel. Lots of celebrity interviews, a lot of really cool podcasts go up from the Genreverse podcast network. There's Marvel Multiverse Mayhem, Anime-Versal, Daily Cup of Genre, the Cantina does Star Wars and Breaking Geek Radio, a big long form that comes out on Fridays. And then I already said the podcast network, wherever you get your podcasts from. I got social media information on the screen in front of you if you're on YouTube, or in the descriptions down below. Brian does YouTube as well and does some really, really unique and niche type things and true crime stuff that is weird, how people just love to see how awful humans are on a really up close and personal level. So Brian, have at it.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. The channel's PulpMythos. About to start doing the new season of American Horror Story, and there's quite a few shows coming up, and I'll be doing those, so check it out.
Indeed. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for checking out the show. Look for Chobits on the Anime-Versal Reviews Midnight Run. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you on this one in a couple of weeks and see you on the Midnight Run. Bye.